Hey everyone, welcome to our first design video. And research and design is really how you're going to be beginning and finding your main image. These videos are going to be slightly different from each other because the creative process for me always kind of differs. Sometimes I start with a photo reference and sometimes I start with an idea. So with this one in particular, I didn't have a photo reference, I just had my idea. So I'm starting to search for something that will match that idea. The idea that I had was something like a horror film movie poster, and I wasn't quite sure the style that I was going for just yet, but I was looking for basically my main actor or actress, and I found her. Now, I was looking for someone who was older because the meaning of this painting is kind of about how our older adults at the moment through the pandemic are kind of going through a very difficult time with feeling alienated and trying to find ways to occupy their time. I'll go into that more. Right now, I just want to get into the design of this. So at the moment, I'm working in Canva, and the first thing I always do after I find my reference photo is to size it to my canvas size. And the size that we're working on right now, I know is matched perfectly to the size of my canvas, and I think it was like 6 by 10, 7 by 10. I'll put it on the bottom for you. After I get my main photo reference, I duplicate the photo and I use the background remover tool to kind of create a separation. I like to have different layers, so this way I can kind of build something that looks a little bit more three-dimensional, as well as if I need to like work on something specific in the background, then I could just go to that layer. All right, so next what I'm trying to figure out is what kind of color palette am I going to need for this piece. I wasn't really quite sure yet. I felt like something red, purple, like some of the cooler colors to kind of get that feeling of a little bit of sadness, maybe a little bit of isolation. So I had an idea, but I wasn't there yet. So you could tell at the moment I'm kind of looking for inspiration. And how I do that is quite literally go on the internet, search in scary movie poster cliche, because I think that the cliches are the fun ones to really kind of replicate because they're a style that we're all so familiar with. So I'm doing that at the moment. And what you're going to be starting to find, well, I found with scary movies, is the eye. Scary movies always this like crazy eye with either a bug or blood or something. And eyes are a really great way to draw people in because it creates contact with your viewer immediately. And that is kind of why I chose her as my main character for this. I don't know if you noticed, but I had another reference photo I was kind of thinking of. Similar themes, they're both sewing, but that character wasn't looking at the camera and she is. And that really is a tool to draw an audience into your art or your design. Okay, at this moment in time, I'm checking to see how I can manipulate the background of my piece. And I thought maybe something a little like poltergeisty, like feeling like you're inside of a TV screen. I knew it wanted to feel a little bit older. I didn't know if it was like 1980s older or if I wanted it mid-century older. And that's where I'm kind of at the moment. So I didn't really feel like this was working for me. I felt like by blurring out the background, we kind of lost that beautiful drapery. Here we go. This is more like a TV thing I was thinking of, like you're in the TV screen and everything is, and I was thinking TV because of how we are just so immersed at the moment in our media and entertainment because it's one form of escape for us. And part of the meaning of this was ways that we escape and ways that we find ways to like pass the time. I liked this idea. It kind of had this newspaper feel or this like mid-century feel. Now here we are, mid-century horror film movie posters, and I love this style of design. It's definitely my style of preference. So I thought, All right, well, now I kind of have my idea has developed a little bit. I'm kind of thinking more like a horror film from the 1950s that sort of emulates like a Alfred Hitchcock type film. And I love this type of style because they're very stylistic. They have these blocky type um, shapes. And then there's also these like hatch mark lines that you could see from the artist that was actually creating these posters. And because they didn't have computers at the time, oh, design your color palette. Okay, so I am moving on to designing my color palette, and that lesson can be found here. So I had my palette designed, I figured out what colors I was going to use, and I decided to move forward with the Alfred Hitchcock type video. I'm sorry, Alfred Hitchcock type painting. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually dropping in my hex codes of each of these colors. And you can tell at the moment they are not the saturated version. I'm not worried about that at the moment. Right now I'm focusing strictly on the design of the piece. So by dropping these in, it will help me if I need to reference it and say, and I'll show you at the moment. So they have these things called duotone, where it means two colors, and you can choose what you want the highlight color and the shadow color to be. And how you would do that is when you click on duotone and it pops up, click that same duotone button again and the preferences will come up on how to switch it. So now I'm going through the colors that I've swatched and I'm testing them out just to see what I'm getting. I'm not quite sure what color I want to use yet, or which two colors I want to use for the highlight and the midtone color. Okay, and before I forget, I was talking about the hatch mark lines that were in these posters of the 1950s. They didn't have computers to design their artwork at the time, so you can actually see the way that they mapped everything out, where you're seeing the transfers and the hatch marks, and it creates a stylized effect that they ended up using to enhance part of it. So I loved that as well, and I thought it would be cool to kind of emulate that. So I knew that when it came time to painting, I wanted to use some hatch marks in my transfer drawing, because I knew that would come out later and look very stylized and kind of feel more like the style of the 1950s. At the moment, I am using the background remover tool to create a separate layer from the background and the foreground. So really this is the middle layer, and the middle layer is going to be that couch and whatever I design on top of it. I had an idea of maybe having like a image on top of it, but I wasn't quite sure where it was going yet. But I knew I had to separate the middle layer. So now I have background layer which has the duotone, the middle layer which has the couch, and now this foreground layer. Okay, so now I pushed it back. There you go. Now you can see the foreground layer didn't have the couch in it. It was cut out, and I used the background remover tool for that. And the middle layer has the couch. So now I'm kind of messing with the duotones to see which colors look really good together. And I really like that one. I think I choose this one because you still have the blues from the background, but the red is really creating a separation, and it does have a very stylized effect. Contrast, how bright and how dark something is. If it's less contrast, the colors are going to be closer together, and more contrast means they'll be further apart, like darker and lighter values. Okay, so now I've moved to the foreground and doing the duotone again and playing with the colors that I have already designed and swatched. And as you can see here, even though I'm using those colors, I can still work with the values of the colors that I picked, and that's exactly what I did. I just lightened the value of the color that I had swatched earlier. Okay, so the spiral, I was thinking kind of like, oh man, what is that? Vertigo. That Alfred Hitchcock movie Vertigo. I thought maybe it would be cool to have the spiral in there to remind people, but then I thought it was a little bit too close and I got rid of it. Okay, great trick is using these blurs and changing the color of them. And the blur will really give you the Hollywood movie type feel. You can use these blurs to create a separation like I did right now with the background. I added that light color, so it really creates a separation from the wallpaper, or I guess it's still the drapes. I know it's going to be wallpaper eventually. And her, it creates that glow. So if you can use any type of vignettes, glows, shadows, whatever, and drop them in and place them in different areas to kind of create a separation or to draw the attention to your main subject, that is always a good thing, because if you think about it, movie posters are meant to be a very quick glance as you're walking by to see a movie that you wanted to see. And while you're there, you only have a few seconds to go grab your popcorn, and you're looking around and you see something and it has to grab your attention. Okay, at the moment I wanted to talk about this. These are vector graphics, and vector graphics are transparent images that you can resize without losing the quality. They have these under elements. So there's photos on the sidebar and elements. And these vector graphics are so awesome. Some of them you can change the color like I did with this one. And I loved the lines. Like, you know, because all of these bold lines are very reminiscent of this 1950s feel. And it fit perfectly on that couch, you know, and now it really does feel like you're creating a story, and the story feels like this woman is like in isolation and she has these memories of the past, and now she's here, you know, biding her time, trying to figure out ways to like what is next. And having this horror film style, I think, really kind of pushes that idea a little bit further, because the reality of it can feel like a scary movie. Okay, let's see here. At the moment, what I'm doing is I wanted her eyes to be very detailed. Whether I was able to do it in my painting or not, I wasn't quite sure, but I knew that it was important for me to make the eyes as detailed as possible, because when you can create eye contact with your viewer from your painting, you're automatically creating a relationship with your viewer as well. And Rembrandt was one of the artists that knew this and would really play with this and kind of detail out the eyes so you felt like you were actually looking at a real person. And then a lot of the other types, you know, parts of his face would be a little bit more blurred out or more abstract. With her, I'm using the erase and restore tool, and you can tell at the moment they have a button that says show original image. So you have this onion skinning kind of thing, this ghost image, where you can see where the image is, so you can figure out where you need to remove and where you need to restore. And that was all within the background remover tool on Canva. Anyhow, oh, that looks weird. So anyhow, I wanted it to look very detailed, and I'm still playing with the saturation and the color of it to match. Well, I think at this moment I was just playing around and seeing what I could get, because sometimes when you're playing around, and that's what I love about this, is I wouldn't be able to have made this painting if it weren't for this program. I'm not that talented where I can sketch something out from my imagination. I don't know how people do it, and they're absolutely incredible. For me, I have to play with things almost like a collage, like we're doing at the moment. I have to have like other people's art inspires me, and by using other reference photos and kind of collaging it together, I'm able to come up with something on my own. But yeah, I mean, this is my process, and my process is not like the right way of doing it at all, of course, but it is one way of doing it, and there really is no right way when you're creating art. You just have to find a right way for you as the artist, and this is the way that I do it. I'm playing with the vignette, and I put that sunset in the very background. You can still see the drapery because I lowered the opacity, meaning it's more transparent. You can see through it. And actually, I just got rid of the idea. Now I got rid of that idea altogether. Back to the lines. I keep on thinking these hatch mark lines, these stylized lines, how can I put them in somehow? Wallpaper, that is how I can do it. Having a stylized wallpaper where you're kind of using an outline will really kind of feel like this 1950s, where you have blocks of color and then a little bit more of these details. And what wallpaper would be really cool? So I went back to my backgrounds, found the stylized thing, and oftentimes they'll have these magic recommendations where if you liked one thing, they'll say, hey, check these out. You'll probably like these as well. And I found these like butterfly, dragonfly things. And I was like, that's it. That's definitely it. These dragonflies, they have already blossomed. They're flying around out of control, all over the place, like controlled chaos. They're beautiful. They're haunting. They have a story of their own. And I knew that would be a perfect addition for me, for my idea. And now I'm getting to the point where I feel like I'm almost done. I feel like the whole thing is looking very cohesive. The colors really work together. I'm now just pushing my shadows, highlights, really just tweaking everything. So we'll see where we go from here. All right, I think that was a wise decision. Because the backgrounds are patterns, you can just shrink them, copy, paste, and they'll match up, which is another great thing about using these backgrounds. But I did create a little bit less opacity and more transparency, so it kind of makes it, oh, and that is the end. So at the very end there, I was starting to already get rid of my my swatches because I knew I was at the end, and I will show you what the next step is for prepping our design for painting. I will see you there. Take care. Bye.